The most terrifying monsters are often the one rooted in the unknown, the ones we can't ever understand. The shadows in the corner, the stranger in the dark. Yet, what if the most terrifying thing was knowing? A sense of familiarity. What if the face trying to kill you wasn't a hideous monster, but your own? In 2019, Jordan Peele returned with his second story, Us. With scissors, rabbits, and red jumpsuits, it preyed on our deep-rooted fears, pulling to light the horrors kept within. Us is terrifying, but why? Today, I'll dive into just what makes Us one of the most disturbing movies of the past decade. So from here on out, I'm talking about the plot. So if you still haven't watched this movie, I highly recommend you to go watch it. And once you have, come right back to this video. The movie opens in 1986, where a young girl called Addie walks off from her parents at the Santa Cruz boardwalk, entering a hall of mirrors. Yet, hidden within the tunnels, she finds something impossible. Herself, a duplicate. The incident leaves her with inexplicable trauma, setting up what's to come in the rest of the movie. Decades later, Adelaide Wilson returns to Santa Cruz, but this time she's joined by her husband, Gabe, and their children, Zora and Jason. They're staying in a summer home by a lake, not far from the boardwalk where she originally met her duplicate. Now, Adelaide appears stable, but underneath, she's suffering from unease and anxiety at returning to the same place from her childhood. Jordan Peele lets it fester, slowly chipping away at both the character and audience's anxieties. However, the real terror strikes late at night, when, out of nowhere, a family of 4 appear at their doorstep, unmoving in the dark. They swiftly break into the house, effectively and violently. Once they're inside, though, is where the real horror lies. The figures, now inside, are them, grotesque distortions, holding golden scissors and wearing red jumpsuits. Only one actually speaks. Red, Adelaide's eerie counterpart, and she speaks about 2 lives lived, but one in joy, the other in despair. It depicts the story of the 2 Adelaides, one raised well, the other hurt as a child. The duplicates are the tethered, clones hidden away in tunnels under America, leading torturous lives. The Wilsons manage to escape, but the horror only grows. Across the country, others are being attacked and replaced by their tethered counterparts, who begin to rise in unison, joining hands to mimic the Hands Across America stunt from Adelaide's childhood. As the Wilsons flee, Adelaide grows more ruthless and violent towards their tethered counterparts, leading to multiple deaths. Soon, Adelaide has to descend back into the very tunnel she came from, to find her son Jason, who had been taken by Red. In the sterile, rabbit-infested government facility, the truth is revealed. Adelaide and Red switched places years ago, and they've been living each other's lives all these years. She is the tethered one. Adelaide and Red fight, with Adelaide brutally winning despite Red's precise attacks. The Wilsons come together, driving away in an old ambulance, but as they drive past the huge human chain, stretching for miles upon miles, Jason looks at his mother with a stare. He knows who she is. The future will never be the same again. Now, Us is uniquely terrifying as compared to many other horror movies that rely solely on jump scares and quick thrills. Jordan Peele spends time on his movies, crafting them up from the bottom. That's how he makes truly amazing, yet horrifying movies. So what makes this movie so scary and so different to his other projects? Let's dive in. As I just said, Peele masterfully creates his movies with unique elements, differentiating them from each other. And here, he uses the idea of identity against us. Sure, the presence of the violence clones is scary, but our perception of identity becoming unstable can be even more horrifying. Forget about trust, authenticity, even the self. All is not what it seems. For example, Adelaide is revealed to be one of the clones, breaking her sense of identity. Yet, the movie pushes you to think about the roles we play in society, and who we actually are. Every action, every scream, every tear, it all becomes part of one big lie. That's what haunts you after the credits roll. Not the idea of the tethered, but that you already are one, and you have been this whole time. Yet, It's not just the existential horror that this film absolutely nails. It also uses personal horror, hitting you where it hurts the most. I think everyone's had at least one thought about the terror of a home invasion. You're just sitting at home one day, and then suddenly you hear someone enter your house, creeping around. It's one of the most chilling things that could happen to someone. And so when Peele uses it, it's so effective, through the very gaze of the Wilsons. And here, the tethered are you, so they know the layout of your house, every hallway, every room, every door. It's intimate violence, which is, in my opinion, even worse than many other forms of horror. The idea that someone can know you better than you know yourself can be either comforting or truly disturbing. One of the scariest things in this movie is the almost ritualistic actions and ideologies of the tethered. The moment which sums up the best for me is the absolutely haunting image of them linking hands, creating a huge chain across America. What makes it so visually interesting is the idea it represents. The movie pushes it heavily through the interactions between Adelaide and Red. The idea that the tethered have to rise up to reclaim any intention is fascinating. It mirrors real life, people coming together in protest to fight for what they want and what they believe in. The actions of the tethered make us think of how suppression is happening in our society today. They're not invading, but correcting the mistakes of the past. Us, as humans, are scared of many things. But what if the things we were scared of fought back, telling us we were wrong from the beginning? Another reason as to why this movie just hits us where it knows it will scare us the most is with the isolation. Now, I talk a lot about isolation in my reviews. Like, a lot. Horror movies use the idea of loneliness to ground themselves, linking themselves to the audience's own experiences with fear. But in Us, Peele flips the idea of isolation on its head. The doppelgangers are just us, just changed. They act mostly the same, but it's in that small margin of error where the horror is so effective. It reminds us of how isolation, loneliness, being shunned and pushed away can change a person. The tethered are forced to live in tunnels, mimicking the lives of others without ever truly living it for themselves. Their silence isn't peaceful, it's a scream, trapped under a mile of concrete. It's nearly impossible to talk about any of Jordan Peele's movies without discussing the themes underneath them. And one of the most prevalent in this movie in particular is the false unity of America. In fact, the title of the movie could also refer to the US, as in the United States. The film draws attention to the Hands Across America stunt, which was originally done for charity in real life, but it cost so much to actually organise that barely any money was actually ever donated. Peele uses this to reflect the state of America, which in the past and even in the present has favoured symbolic gestures over real change in many circumstances, giving a false pretense that work is actually being done for those who need it. The tethered in this movie act like the underclass, now mirroring the failure of the US with their chain across America. It's a symbolic mockery of America. As Red herself says, we're Americans. The tethered symbolically acts as an attack against the fragile landscape of the United States, showing the wrongs of society through the darkness they themselves were held in. Thanks for watching the video, and if you enjoyed watching just as much as I did in making the review, like and subscribe for more content like this. Oh, and this is a challenge for all of you. Count how many times I say the word us in this video, and comment down below. The first right answer, I will pin. Anyway, out of all of Jordan Peele's movies, Us is my personal favourite, just because of its themes and tense atmosphere. If you have any suggestions for movies, comment them down below. But in the end, it isn't the clones that will get you, it's the anxiety, running down your spine, raising the hairs on the back of your neck. It's the fear, the tension, what makes us, us.